Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I wanted to talk about something that I think is super relevant considering the fact that we are in the new year. With the new year, as you know, of course, a lot of people do end up setting resolutions and goals, and everyone's super pumped to say, hey, you know what, it's a new year, it's a fresh start, I'm gonna take the time and make these changes in my life, and I'm going to give it my best shot at improving this particular aspect about myself or this particular aspect about my life or whatever the situation might be. But people tend to set goals at the beginning of the year. So you may do that, you may not. Some people have the philosophy that, hey, you know what, I don't need it to be a new year for me to set goals and resolutions. I can make changes at any point in the year. So even if that is you, what I'm going to share today, I think it's relevant for anyone who's setting goals and resolutions and trying to accomplish something, but is finding themselves kind of falling off the tracks a little bit. So basically, if you go, for example, a very, very common and very easily observable example would be if you go to the gym at the beginning of the year, day one, January 1st, the gym is packed. And you're like, where are all these people coming from? Who are all of these people that I've never seen? Or, these are not the regulars that I see. And then as the month goes, and then as you go into February and as the year progresses, the numbers start to dwindle, and then you're just left with the regulars or people who have kind of taken that up in the middle of the year just to say, that's it, I'm gonna make this change in my life, right? So what happens is people start off the year really pumped, really excited, really committed to their goals and to their resolutions. But as the year progresses, either they start to slack off, or they start to go down in the consistency of them accomplishing that goal or working towards that goal, or they just say, you know what, it's not for me, and they just abandon it altogether. So how can we overcome that? How can we say, hey, you know what, if this is a goal that I'm setting for myself, or these are the goals that I'm setting for myself, then how can I kind of commit to them fully and keep up my commitment to them, right? So I think one of the things I would say is, don't take on a lot. So when we're excited about something, when we are full of energy, sometimes we overcommit and we say, you know what, I'm gonna do this, 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 and this, and we could list 5 things or however many things, and we think that all of these changes are gonna happen all at once, and we're gonna make these drastic changes in our lives right away. And I think that energy, it's not sustainable. You can't necessarily continue with that. So I think that's one problem that happens, is that people overcommit and they're just so excited and so pumped and so optimistic that they're gonna accomplish all of these goals that they they really shoot farther than they actually would end up actually working. Also, what happens is that they think that all of these drastic things are going to happen all at once, when obviously it's the smaller efforts that make up changes in your life, right? That makes it sustainable. You need to be consistent so that you can actually keep up with whatever it is that you're looking to do. So if you feel like you are going to be a healthier person this year, and you say, okay, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to exercise every single day, and I'm going to give up sugar, and I'm going to give up carbs, or I'm gonna cut back on this and that and that. That's a lot of changes, and that's a lot of drastic changes you're gonna make in your life. And because you're overwhelming yourself with this overcommitment, there will come a point where you're gonna just be so exhausted from trying to keep up with all of these changes that you're trying to make, because they're just too much and it's too big of a change all at once. I'm not saying that obviously that you can't do those things, but you have to take it in small bite-sized pieces. So that's one thing. So overcommitting is one thing, and also saying that I'm going to make this drastic change in my life all of a sudden is also another aspect of it, that you're maybe taking on too many things, maybe list-wise, quantity-wise. It's too much all at once. Or it might also be that you haven't taken your first step, but you're already kind of thinking about what you're going to be doing when you're on the 20th step, when you really need to take that first step first, obviously, and then you can kind of work your way up the levels and go to level 20, for example, right? So overcommitment, too big of a change, and not kind of doing the prerequisites for it first. So another thing is even if you don't have too many tasks, or it might not be that big of a task or that drastic of a change in your life, it might still be something that needs to be broken down into actual steps, into actionable steps. So let me give you an example. So let's say someone wants to write a book, right? So that is one goal that they have. It is not too drastic of a change necessarily. They might already be writing because they're interested in becoming a writer, so they probably are already writing, and it's not too many tasks that they have on their hand, right? Cool. So that's well and good. But then what needs to happen in a situation like this is that you need to actually break it down, this one task that you have on your hand, you need to break it down into more, like, much smaller actionable steps, right? So if you just kind of like throw this idea up in the air and just kind of throw it out there, say, hey, I want to write a book, but you don't actually set time frames, or you don't actually set, kind of actual concrete goals in terms of, okay, timeline wise, like I want to do this in the first month, and the second month I'm going to do this, or however, whatever the timeline might be. But if you don't do that, it's harder for you to then assess your own performance and say, okay, you know what, I'm actually ahead of schedule, I'm actually doing better than I thought I would, and that can be motivating for you, for sure. But also, if you are not going according to plan, I guess you can say, then you also know that you might need to either pick up the pace because you're slacking off, or you're not really committing to it, or you might say, okay, you know what, the targets that I had set were unrealistic. I was being overly optimistic, so let me kind of rework my timelines, and then we'll see what my goals are looking like. And maybe it's not going to be October that my rough draft's going to be ready, it's looking more like December, and that's fine. But as long as I'm not getting, because also what happens is you start to get overwhelmed sometimes because the task is so big and you feel like there's just so much for you to do and you're so behind, and like this book is such a big task. But if you kind of break it down into smaller pieces, then you can say, well, yeah, day one, I can take an hour out of my day and kind of just come up with a rough sketch of the storyline, or kind of brainstorm ideas of what kind of book do I want to write. Do I want to write, a horror book, or a thriller, or a mystery, or romance, or comedy? Like what is it? Humor, poetry? Like what is it that I want to write? So it gives you a sense of direction for sure, but it takes away that overwhelming factor for the task, right? And then also, if you have those actionable plans, try your best to stick to them, because what happens is if you say, okay, well, you know what, this day I'm gonna let it go, then tomorrow maybe I'll forget about it today too, and I'll just push it to another day, and another day, then no matter what actionable plans you have set, none of them are going to work, right? So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind. Maybe it will be helpful if you keep it in a place that's really visible to you. So if you are working at a desk, you can have it up as a calendar, you can have it up on your phone, you can have it up in your room somewhere where you get ready, whatever works for you, obviously. But I'm just giving suggestions in terms of like what will help you kind of face those plans and your own expectations of yourself on a daily basis, so that you can actually keep going back and hold yourself accountable to them, because it's going to be a reminder for you every single day. So obviously there's other things that you can do as well to make sure that you're accomplishing your goals and your resolutions, like having someone who's going to hold you accountable. A lot of people have, like, for example, for working out, they have workout partners, workout buddies, so that they know, like, if someone else is expecting me to be at the gym, then I gotta be at the gym, and if I'm not, then this person's gonna hold me accountable, and I'll do the same for them. And so that really helps. But I'm trying to focus also on what you can do by yourself, because a lot of times the resolutions are for yourself and you can't really always have someone holding you accountable. And obviously the best thing to do is for you to hold yourself accountable. So I just wanted to share a few of these things that I have found helpful, and I've also observed in other people that these are the things that happen that cause them to kind of fall off their resolution and their goals and give up on it. And I think one of the things that goes without saying, but I should say it of course, is even if you find yourself, let's say your resolution was working out, and you said that, you know what, I'm gonna try working out 5 times a week, and that's what I'm gonna do this year, and that's the change that I'm gonna bring about this year for myself. Cool. Now then, let's say you went for the first couple of weeks, and then the third week you went 3 times, and the fourth week you went once, and then by February you're not even going, you're not showing up to the gym. And then by the end of the month you're like, oh, you know, I did have that resolution, but I'm not like, I didn't commit to it. Okay, next year. No, don't do that. Don't do that at all, right? Any point that you can start up again, any point that you find the energy in yourself, you find the commitment in yourself, the drive to actually recommit or restart on that goal, do it. It obviously, like, I mean, a lot of people do New Year's resolution, but we don't need a new year to obviously make changes in our lives, right? So then maybe revise your goal. Maybe you can say, okay, you know what, 5 days maybe was too much. I'll try starting off with once a week or twice a week, or I'll, you know, go out for walks instead of going to the gym, because it goes back to the actionable plan. So if you can do something that is small, but it's still working towards that first step that, you know, you can take to work towards that goal, then do that. It's fine that you didn't do the 5 days a week that you originally started off with, but at least you're still doing something and you're not giving up on that goal or that resolution, because that is obviously not what we want. That's not going to bring you closer to your goal. It's only going to put a dead end on it, right? So even if what you had set up as a resolution for yourself is not exactly what your days are looking like or what your year is looking like, just readjust, right? It's okay to readjust. There's no, like, the fact that you have actually even gotten to the point of saying, I want to make this change, you're a step further than you were the day before, and you're a step closer to your resolution and making that change in your life, because now you've made that decision for yourself. Don't give up on it completely just because you had a slow start, or, you know, you're not able to do fully what you were planning to do, but at least, you know, even if it's a slow pace that you need to go at, or even if it's a smaller step that you need to take, then readjust, realign, and just keep going and stay committed to it. So that's all I have for today. I hope that you found that helpful. I hope that you know, you were able to take something away from this video. And if you do have any goals or resolutions, I wish you the best of luck with them. And I want to know, did you make a New Year's resolution? Do you tend to not make a New Year's resolution because you haven't been very successful in the past? What are your thoughts on New Year's resolutions? I usually don't, just because New Year, I mean, it's just another day technically, but it's nice that people do kind of look at a new year and look at the clean slate, the fresh start that they have, and are, you know, energized to make that change, and are excited to, you know, start the year off on a good note, right? So it's really nice to see that. If there's anything that you have found helpful in terms of committing to your goals or your, you know, New Year's resolutions, please do share them below, because I would love to hear about them. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful year ahead, and until next time, take care of yourself and of this world. Khuda Hafiz.